All right, so let us continue with our next set of functions. So we'll go through iterative function. Okay. So again, before I move on, I'm not satisfied with this background format. So maybe I wanted to change the color. Maybe I do not want, or maybe I wanted a white background. And this looks much better, right? And also I wanted to change the header color to something else. Maybe I can, instead of black, maybe I can do something like this. Okay. So somehow I feel this looks good. Let me just continue with this. Okay. All right. So let us try adding iterative functions. What I'm going to do is I'm just copy pasting this here below. And I wanted to just quickly delete all of them so that I can start populating with the iterative functions. So iterative functions, right? So let us create a folder structure again, right? Instead of costing, let me just create a new name to this iterative function. Okay. So already total cost we have under this, right? If you look at total cost, that is again an iterative function. So what exactly is an iterative function? Iterative functions are nothing but whichever function is ending with x, SUMX. So if a function is ending with x, that is by default called as an iterative function. What exactly it does is it has a table as a, so syntax first expects a table where it iterates throughout that entire table based upon the expression that you are passing. Okay. So basically iterative functions, what they do is, especially if you take this example, SUMX of sales order quantity into unit cost. So if you go back to the table, right, and if you try to look into the formula and click on the sales table, right, what it does basically is it multiplies this order quantity into that particular unit cost, 5 into 130, 11 into 2615, based upon row by row. Okay, so it iterates throughout that sales table. Since we have passed that sales table, it iterates throughout the sales table in each row by row, and it calculates this 5 into 130 and keeps that value in the memory. And same way, it multiplies 11 into 2615 and keeps that in memory. And at the end, it does the SUMX, like it does the sum, right? It does the sum. So basically the sum x, this x, whenever you see, it iterates this entire table row by row. So it is, you have to specifically remember this, it goes individual row by row and it has the row context in place. Okay. So because this is majorly an interview question, people generally check like, what is the difference between a sum and SUMX? Should say sum is an aggregation function, right? It does the calculation at one go, it aggregates the value depending upon the subset of the data or the data that is able to come up after the initial context or filter, right? Whereas SUMX, it actually goes through that particular table row by row and then does calculation. Okay. So the idea is to understand it goes row by row. It is specifically mentioned row by row. Okay. So now let us go and write one more DAX function, which is an iterative function. This is SUMX. We have multiple DAX functions. So again, let's go with average cost. Let's see, average X. Whenever the function X you see, that's an iterative function. So I'm going to pass the table name as sales, and the expression is what? Expression is the same thing. Order quantity times cost, total unit cost, right? Total unit cost. This is going to give you average cost. So this is the total cost that has incurred to you. So maybe first I'll add a total cost. So the total cost that has incurred to you, and this is what the average cost that has incurred. And similarly, we can come up with what is the minimum cost out of this average cost, right? Same way as we calculated for sales. I'm going to say MA cost, min cost is equal to minimum X, right? You need to look for the X because that is what is your iterative function. I'm going to pass a table and I'm going to pass order quantity times cost, unit cost, right? I'm going to close this. Minimum cost. And similarly, we have got. So there's another method of writing this. You can just copy paste the entire formula, create a new measure, right? And now you can just quickly paste this here and change the name, right? Max cost. You can change the formula as well. MAXX, right? Simple. All right. Got commit. You can simply get the maximum cost. All right.